You're listening to the RFBL Report with your hosts, Bear and Batdownski.
I only realised when I was up in Wolverhampton, the New Forest owner is an absolute cuck.
Truly, the rich get richer.
Juice, because I only drink juice.
We got some typical Peking bullshit.
Here comes 5th place New Forest.
He's cagey, he gets on base, he's a consummate pro.
Warning, things are about to get weird.
Greetings, salutations, welcome once more to yet another episode of the RFBL Report with myself, Batdownski, and the man from across the ocean, the one, the only, Ursa Major. It's
Bear. I'm eating ice cream right now. I just figured out how to use OBS efficiently as well at this point.
Look at you go. This is exceptional. This is progress. This is like a special episode because we've got some time this weekend. It looks like there's a long weekend. We're doing some stuff, and we figured we would take a look back at some of the 20 plus years of history in this league. Look at some of the greats of one of the positions that maybe doesn't get the love that it should. We're of course talking about the catchers. It's kind of like episode 8.5, you know? Like, we're not really talking about what's going on. We're not doing a playoff preview. We still have a bit left in the season, about a month. We're going to talk about some guys that are active still, some that are retired, long retired, and we're going to see how they stack up against one another. Regardless, I'm sure somebody's going to be mad. Like, that's how this works, right?
Well, I already seen the list and I'm already mad, so...
Well played. I think there were some interesting factors on the list, and some like honorable mentions do go out there. Like Francis Gaillard with the Monkeys. He's had himself quite a career. Didn't quite crack the top 10. Like he's one of those accumulator guys. He deserves an honorable mention. He's been like a 1, maybe 2 WAR guy for like a while, and that gives him an okay career WAR total of 21, but like no real accolades. He's made an all-star team twice, and he was good in one playoff. He was a wild card MVP, but like he's a guy. There's a few of those, right? Jason Martin had a few years for the Expos where he was really good. Tony Bursey, he's one of those dudes that just kind of clung on forever based on his glove, and then he's a captain and people like him. Like, he had some real good years early on for Pyongyang, but he's an all-gay guy, but he's not going to make a top 10 list. 4-time all-star, 1-time ring holder. Nagateru Nagao. Oh, that was a mouthful. The Chris Osgood of catchers there. Good enough to start and win, never amazing. He's not on our list, but, honorable mention. David Moravia. Bear, I'm throwing David Moravia out there, not because he was amazing. He has a career minus 3.5 WAR, but he's the only guy with a negative career WAR that has played this much, though. Like, he might actually be the single best defensive catcher in the history of the league. He had almost 20 zone rating over 11 years, and he played over 1,000 games. He played 1,177 games. He went to the plate almost 4,200 times with a career 50 OPS plus. So he was so bad at hitting, but I think probably underrated for the Gold Glove. Like, he only had 2 in his career, but he was really good defensively. Honorable mention. Got to give the guy a little bit of love. You got anybody you want to add to the honorable mentions list before we delve right into this?
I think you've gone through them, haven't you? Like,
I got 2 more. One of them is actually an ex-Bear.
Oh no!
It's Ryan Morley. You drafted this guy 168th overall in 2026, and he's had a storied career. He's a 4-time Gold Glove winner, 3-time Silver Slugger. He's made 3 All-Star games. It's another kind of accumulator. And listen, I don't want to say Mickey Mouse awards, but I feel like he's one of those guys that was just often the best in a weak group. So you had like 3 to 5 like really high-end catchers in one league, and then it was like a swath of like glove first guys and like Ryan Morley. So Ryan Morley's winning like Silver Slugger with 100 OPS plus, or he's winning a Gold Glove with 0.8 zone rating. Like, Cool. Good career, though. Good career, good player, still good, still playing. The other guy would be Gravedigger Anderson with the Washington/LA Blazers. He's only played 3 seasons, but he actually has the second best single season ever in the league from a catcher back last season, where he had 41 homers and 151 OPS plus, 6.5 WAR. He's not going to make the list, but I think that single season high mark for peak at age 32 was pretty remarkable. So big ups. Some trends. There are certain teams that have their hands on a lot of these catchers. Like we've given honorable mentions. If I kind of count this, I think about 50% of our honorable mentions 50% of the list plus honorable mentions have touched either the Bears or Zabby's organizations.
Does that tell you everything about my organization?
Are you a catcher whisperer?
I mean, I do play wicketkeeper in cricket, don't I?
Yeah. I did forget an honorable mention. Artur Aziz, Kitchener. He's only got 1 Gold Glove, 1 All-Star game. He's got a career 10.5 WAR, close to 11. His peak is this season. But he's probably going to add a Gold Glove, another Silver Slugger. But he doesn't really have the accumulated stats to break onto this list right now. But I would fully expect, given he's only played 4 seasons, that if he gets another 4 under his belt, he's probably going to displace someone near the tail end of this list. But yeah, Bears and Zabbies, lots of good catchers have come through those organizations.
I know. There's plenty more to come as well.
Carlos Amaya, big set sight. But let's start. Let's do drum roll, air horns, whatever you want to do.
Boom, 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 boom.
Number 10, Jose Canoe, Springfield and Pyongyang.
I want to say we didn't even prepare to time that perfectly either.
Yeah, we had no timing. We came up with a list earlier today and just went with it. But Jose Canoe, number 10, I think he has a tentative hold on this. I cannot imagine that he's going to be on this list for much longer, but big ups to the big man. He's certainly the tallest guy on the list at 6'9". He's a good character guy, but he has fallen on tough times since leaving Springfield. Still a good framer, still a good guy in the room, but he is probably actively taking against his WAR total at this point. He's got 20 career WAR. He has 5-time All-Star, 1-time Silver Slugger, somehow never won a Gold Glove. But his peak came back in 2038 where he hit 43 bombs. Very impressive 3.9 WAR season. He was a first-round pick in 2028. But former big-time slugger, still a pretty good framer. Was a high-end framer. He's on the back 9 now, but kind of he's there. He's in the top 10. He's near the back of the top 10 for all-timers. You want to announce the next one? Number 9.
Number 9 is Louise Guzman.
Louise Guzman played for the Kitchener Zabbies, the Hannibal Hillbillies, and the Peking Bullshits. I mean, Ducks. A little bit similar to Canoe in the way that he is a very good defensive backstop. Never quite matched his hype. He was a first overall pick in 2027 with the Kitchener Zabbies. He's still active, still playing for Peking. 4-time Gold Glover, 2-time All-Star, career 20.5 WAR. His peak came back in 2033 before he left the Kitchener Zabbies organization. He hit 31 dingers in that little shoebox of a park. Had a 263, 304, 494 slash line. He never really hit the offensive ceiling that we all thought he might have been due, but really good professional glove man, and he's forged himself a nice little career. He's still very good defensively. The bat has faded over time, but he's still a very good defensive catcher. Could win another Gold Glove. We'll see what happens with him. Number 8. This is going to be a contentious one, I think. Tadaharu Hayashi. Who? Says the Peanut Gallery in the general chat.
That was me earlier. Who? All right, trying to spell his name earlier. It's hey.
Yeah, who the hell is Tad Hayashi? He was a guy that was generated. He was at the beginning. He He was part of the Melbourne Kangaroos organization in 2020, which became the Zootopia Zabbies, which became the Montreal Expos. And I'm not sure if those were the Expos that turned into Soviet. No, I think the modern-day Soviet was an expansion team.
Yeah, modern-day Soviet expansion team.
Yeah, so he played for Zootopia, Montreal, Soviet. 32 to 38 seasons. I think people have forgotten how good he was. Like, the fact that he entered the league in 2020, as they say, versus plumbers and pipe fitters and stuff, he mashed the ball. From 32 to 38, he was the best hitting catcher in the league early on. The fact that he had his peak year in 2021 for Zootopia with 28 dingers out of 158 OPS plus, 5.5 WAR, and those were shorter seasons then as well. Yeah. So if you compare that, it compares pretty favorably to Gravedigger Anderson's kind of offensive. Dude raked, and he was pretty good with the glove too. He was a Gold Glover, 2-time Silver Slugger, 3-time All-Star, had 18.8 WAR, and considering he started at age 32 and put up those numbers from 32 to 38, I think if we had seen his peak, like those 24 to 32 seasons, he probably would be higher on this list.
Oh yeah, you know he would have been higher on the list because, like, his batting would have been very favoured by many teams, especially backed up by his ability behind.
Yep. Speaking of mashers, let's go to our next one on the list. Number 7. Do you want to drop this one, Bear? It's going to make somebody happy.
Yeah. I don't really want to say it. Christopher Garrigues.
Christophe Garrigues of the Isle of Man. Isle of Man with an all-timer at a position. How has this team missed the playoffs so much? No.
No one would ever think of men for a actual good player.
But, like, honestly, Christophe Garrigues was very, very effective. He had some really high-end offensive seasons. I don't think he ever developed into the receiver that we probably expected out of a first overall pick, but he was a really strong offensive catcher for a few years there, and he is at this point probably not the best player from the 2031 draft, but he's up there. Like, I know people love Cappy Nakanishi. I still think because of the positional the position element, I would say that Christophe Garrigues is easily top 5 and probably number 3 or 4 from that draft. Like, that was a draft that was much weaker overall, but we're looking at, like, Loic Feliz, Cappy Nakanishi, Byron Fox, Isaiah Perry, Christophe Garrigues for the top 5. I think Garrigues is probably one of the better players out of that draft, and he was a good pickup for the Isle of Man. Good on them identifying that talent and having him there. He's fallen off a bit in recent years, but his peak in 2036, 41 home runs, 4.6 WAR. He was raking. Definitely. He's a highly touted power hitter.
There's one thing we have to remember about him. He also temporarily retired for a space of 24 hours.
What? Did he? I forgot about that. Oh, he did! In 2034. Before his peak, this man tried to leave the game before his best years. I'm not sure if that's like did he just, like, did the Isle of Man crush him of his will to live and he just pieced?
Oh, you know he probably had his will crushed by Lone Wolf. I would have had... My will is regularly crushed by Lone Wolf whenever I play games with him.
I'm just looking at him right now, and he was the number 7 prospect in baseball, and then he retired.
Yep.
He was like, I'm out of here. And then he came back and was named the number 5 prospect. So, like, I'm glad he came back to play baseball. We would have been denied one of the greats at the position. Highly touted power hitter, had higher peaks than probably everybody except for Hayashi, offensively anyways. Definitely higher peaks than Guzman and Canoe. A little bit less than Hayashi, but he's definitely done it for longer. And he wasn't as adept defensively as some guys lower on the list, but I think with a career 23.2 WAR, good chance to bounce back. A Gold Glove, 2 Silver Sluggers, 6 All-Star games. He's a little bit more decorated. A little more decorated than guys lower on the list. So that's where he'll settle in. Number 7. Number 6. I know how much you like saying this one. So, like, I would normally take it on. We could alternate. I will give you my turn and I'll take the next one.
Gator Vasario. Or Rogero Gator Vasario.
There you go. Gator Vasario. Sunnyvale. 3-time Silver Slugger, 8-time All-Star, 1-time playoff MVP, and 1 time he had a ring. All by the age of 30 years old. He's a career 29 WAR. This is kind of the beginning of the next tier, I think. Because 29, like he's a much higher tier than the guys beneath him, I think, for his career so far. His peak was 2040, where he had one of the best years ever by a catcher. He batted .373. Teddy Ballgame over here with a 5.9 WAR, 55 doubles. He doesn't hit for power like a lot of the guys that we've already kind of talked about on this list, but he is probably the best pure contact hitter we've ever seen at catcher. He's an elite nickname. Had that one real like fringe MVP season. He was probably on a lot of people's ballots in mid to end. He was not a Sunnyvale draft pick. He was not a Sunnyvale international free agent. He was discovered by Motor City in 2029 and later traded for the elitely named but not elitely skilled David Ortiz, who had a career 6 WAR back in 2031. That was 6 WAR total. He contributed about 5.3, I want to say, across 3 seasons for Motor City. And that was definitely one of the more one-sided trades I think we've seen in history. When all is said and done. I think at the time, Motor City thought that like David Ortiz, former top 5 pick, had some skills, could slot into that rotation, and I think he had a couple good but not great seasons, and then got buttoned into oblivion and never really went anywhere. So he was trying to add that missing piece. He paid a premium for it. Sunnyvale definitely made hay while the sun shone. Got a really good catcher out of it. But part of the reason that part of the reason Motor City might have been willing to do that is our number 5 guy on this list. You like that segue? That'd be Jeremy Kemple. He had signed long-term in Motor City. He has a illustrious resume. 2-time Silver Slugger, 8-time All-Star, 1-time champion. Career 33.8 WAR. His peak was actually for the Soviet franchise in 2021 when the league started. 24 dingers, 144 OPS plus, 4.8 WAR. He was an interesting guy. He was an interesting player. Do you remember Jeremy Kemple?
I don't remember Jeremy Kemple.
Well, he was one of those guys that kind of slid under the radar because his skill set was a little less obvious. He was an elite eye. Like he was a guy that walked a ton. Like some of his seasons, he would have like an on-base percentage up around 400. Like he at age 33, he had a 400 OBP with Sunnyvale in a part-time role after getting dealt mid-year. Like there were some really strong seasons there. He actually won a ring with Sunnyvale that year in 2029. So still some connections. So still some catchy connections between the Motor City and Sunnyvale franchises. He had great discipline. I think he would have more hardware. I think he would, but like it seems like a lot of his best seasons were
when he was young.
Yeah, it just seems like he got squeezed by some other guys. Like he played in the same league as Danny Cortina. He played in the same league as some of Kevin Baker's years, Joe Mulcahy, Louise Arias. Like he played in the same league as Luis Guzman. Like he ran up against some really hard competition and came out on top sometimes. But like that was a nice little career. Probably not a Hall of Fame career unless you're comparing him to other catchers, but a really solid guy. Bringing us to number 4. Okay, I can say it too. Kevin Baker. Kevin Baker was one of our original catchers in this game. He was generated for the New Haven Badgers that later became the Sunnyvale Master Batters. He also spent some time with Halifax, Redondo, the Suwon Neons. He has 35 career WAR, 4 times Gold Glove winner, 2 times Silver Slugger, 8 times All-Star. This is another elite contact bat. He was consistently good, maybe rarely great, but he definitely had some really strong seasons early on. And like his peak was in 2020, right in that first season, he batted .369. Very similar profile to Gator Vasario, actually. He had 5.3 WAR that season, 396 OBP. He was just a quality veteran with good contact and receiving skills, and he hung around for a long time, so he was very good.
Yeah, he played pretty well to his mid-30s as well, which is quite rare.
It's funny because a lot of these players are active. Like on our list, a lot of these guys stuck around into their late 30s as active players. Like we start looking at Luis Guzman, Jose Canoe. These guys are in their 30s right now. They're still playing. Hayashi played to 38. Garrigues is 34 now, I want to say. Vasario he's 30, 31. Kemple played until he was in his mid to late 30s. Kevin Baker played until he was mid to late 30s. And our next guy, I think he retired a little earlier than some. He certainly didn't play till 36, I don't think. At least not as a starter. Yeah, never mind. I take it back. He definitely did. This guy played till 38. We're talking Danny Cortina. Bears legend.
Bears legend. Another Bear drafty.
Another Bear draft pick. It was like a Vince Carter trade, actually. Because I believe it was at the draft. It was someone in the Calscar was trying to get. You scooped him, and then I think I traded you the guy I picked at 12th overall plus a pick to get Danny Cortina. So I got Danny Cortina, and then unfortunately Juan Gomez, his arm fell off completely.
His arm fell off as soon as the draft ended.
Yeah,
and never to be seen again.
Unfortunate. Very unfortunate. The dude had like 8 pitches. It was wild. It was like, he looked like Miguel Batista, young guy. But Danny Cortina played how many years? He played from 24 to 37, 13 years with Cascar River Kings, and then played like 19 games with Trav Dondo at the end, just sullying his record. But 2-time Gold Glover, 3-time Silver Slugger, 7-time All-Star, 2-time champion, 34.7 career wins above replacement. I know that he's got less wins above replacement than Kevin Baker. I think having 2 championship seasons and the competition that he had to face with some of the batters that he went up against to win those Gold Gloves, Silver Sluggers, a little stiffer than I think maybe Kevin Baker had. So that's where he lands for me. I think he's the 3rd best catcher of all time. There are some guys lower in the list still active that could easily pass him. Gator Vasario is one that I think sticks in my head. A couple more good years out of him, a little bit bounce back, and he could definitely slot into our top 3. But his peak 2026 for the GAR. It's funny because he kind of developed. He started out as more of a pure contact guy, and then really came at a little bit more average power later on, where he was a 20 home run bat, 15 to 20 home runs consistently. But his peak, 5.7 WAR, 295 batting average. 136 OPS plus with he was just one of those consistent all-around guys that was above average defensively and offensively, and that's where Danny Cortina lands. Do you want to hit number 2?
It's a very famous Bear legend.
Definitely the Bear legend.
Joe Mulcahy.
Joe Mulcahy played for the Bears, won a ring with the Minneapolis Monkeys, and now still playing at age 38 with the New Jersey Devils organization, putting up a 90 plus OPS plus. This dude's won 5 Silver Sluggers, 8 times All-Star. He is a divisive one. I feel like some people probably discount what he brings because he is so bad defensively. He's probably the worst fielder on this list by a lot. However, what do you think? Probably the best hitter? Like the best hitter for the longest period?
By far the best and most consistent hitter in the list.
I'm looking. He played 16 seasons, and only 5 of those were below 100 OPS plus. The dude was remarkably consistent in being an above average hitter and a weapon from the behind the dish. Did you want to say some words and pour one out for poor Joe?
I mean, he managed to play 2,000 games for the Bears and not wanting to end his life.
Yeah, 8,000 plate appearances for the Bears. 114 OPS plus with the Bears organization.
Which is pretty impressive considering the ballpark as well. In a different ballpark where it's a bit like the Zabby's or something.
Yeah,
it could be so much better.
He had a good eye. He had good contact skills, some good power. He put himself together a really respectable career slash line. His average season, based on 162 games, is a 4 WAR, 113 OPS plus. That's a youth 23 dingers. 45 doubles. Like this is a guy that had a really solid year. His peak was in 2032 for the Bears, 25 dingers, 44 doubles, a 147 OPS plus with 6.1 WAR, one of the finest single seasons for a catcher in the history of this league. 303 batting average. He was picked 15th overall in 2025 by the Bears, just a few years after drafting Danny Cortina. He probably is the best, most consistent hitter. I don't think he's got the peaks of some of these other guys. Like if you look at his peak season, really strong, but like there are other guys that have had a better peak season. I feel like Hayashi, if he played a similar number of games in his peak, would probably have beaten that. I feel like Gravedigger Anderson had that 1 year that was better. Gator Vasario had that one season, but like a little bit less in the WAR department. But like Joe Mulcahy, not taking anything away from his consistent excellence. Yeah, he's got like some big Matt Sundin vibes.
I feel like he was mostly a difference maker, like for the Bears at sometimes, especially at the period where we made moves.
Yeah, I think it's just that 35 catcher ability. Like the thing was, he could throw out base runners, but like he did not do you any favors with the catcher ERA.
I'm sure the catch is a fight.
Dude, his career is minus 28.8 zone rating.
It's only 28.8.
At catcher, I should know, because he did play a lot of first base as well.
Yeah, he's not too bad at first base.
Yeah, his catcher ERA for his career is 5.09. So like that framing, not a very good framer, but man, could he hit. Big ups to Joe Mulcahy for his 51.5 career WAR. Number one on the list, though, drum roll. Another guy with 51.5 career WAR. Another guy still active. Do you want to say it or do you want me to?
It's Louise Arias.
It is Louise Arias. He is fading fast at this point in his career for the bats, but he is a bats legend. But not unlike Danny Cortina, he did not play for the team that drafted him.
No?
Yeah. Louise Arias, 1-time Gold Glove, 5-time Silver Slugger, 8 times All-Star, 1-time playoff MVP, 51.5 career WAR. His peak, he got robbed. I'm going to say this right now. I'm going to say it. He got robbed of the MVP. Jesus Velazquez got it. And Jesus Velazquez is an elite player, but I mean a catcher leading the league in WAR at 7.3 with a 169 OPS plus and 40 dingers. That was a hell of a year. And I think Louise Arias is probably a Hall of Famer. First ballot. Best catcher ever in the history.
Yeah, he's by far the best catcher. Even I want to argue it, but I can't argue it.
It's hard because you look at his career defensive metrics, and he's effectively neutral zone rating. He's a +5 overall. His catcher ERA is almost a full run lower than Mulcahy's. It's not like he's been playing for an elite team for many, many years, right? Like, the bats have been good, but they've never been like a Monkeys level dominant. He hasn't coasted off this. He's been someone driving that team's success, hasn't been someone coasting off it.
Yeah, he's at the front, not the back.
Yeah. Best single season in league history at catcher with that 7.3 WAR. And he's kind of faded in recent years into just a quality starter, like a kind of 2 WAR guy, a little bit more fragile, a little bit more brittle now for the last few years. But he's still playing. He's still starting for this team. He's still got good. His contact skills have faded real bad, and he strikes out a lot these days. But like he's still got a little bit of pop at the bat. He's hit 10 dingers this year. He's positive wins above replacement. He walks. He can take a walk. Should we talk about this? Should we bring up the pain?
The pain.
So he was drafted 2nd overall in 2026 by Montreal.
Yeah.
And then traded. He was traded in 2027. Like a year later. And he was traded for Dusty Savino, who was a good but not great pitching prospect, who never made it to the league. I can't even tell you that he was negative WAR. He never played in the majors. Yikes. I think he might have gotten buttoned into oblivion. A first-round pick and a second-round pick. Did we want to delve into what those picks were worth?
Let's have a little hunt down.
Because I could tell you who those picks were.
Yeah. Oh,
they became Robert Hodges. That was the top 5 pick that became. Robert Hodges, who played a total of 8 games in the majors with a 9.64 ERA, minus 0.4 WAR. Oh, that sucks. And then the next guy that they got with the second rounder was Tony Robertson, who played 222 games. That's all right. 0.8 WAR total. Had a career that lasted less than 200 innings. So, in exchange for the greatest catcher to ever play the game in the RFBL, the Expos got 200 innings of Tony Robertson and
8 games.
8 games of Robert Hodges. Nothing from Dusty Savino. Ouch. Pain.
Coming to you in a future all-time trades list.
Here's the thing, is that at the time, I don't want to have it where we're kind of using hindsight 2020. At the time, he had Jason Martin and Louise Arias. Jason Martin was overperforming for sure. Jason Martin had some good seasons. He was an okay catcher. He was an okay player. I want to say at the time of the trade, he had played his rookie season the year before, hit 20 dingers, had a 101 OPS plus and 1.3 WAR. And that season, when Arias got traded, he was 22 years old and had 110 OPS plus. It looked like a reasonable bet to make. I felt at the time that he traded the wrong guy, and hindsight has kind of backed that up. Because Martin was found money. Martin, I don't even remember where he drafted him. He drafted him, in the second round, 25th overall. Oh, he was drafted by Washington, then he was traded there as part of the Asai deal. So he had acquired this guy in a trade. Never played for Washington, but definitely played for Montreal. So he had 2 catchers. I think he traded the one, Arias clearly had the higher upside, but Martin was contributing right then. It was a tough choice to make. It didn't work out. The injuries got to him. But I stand by trading one of them. I just would have traded the guy that was at his all-time high point in value, I think. But again, hindsight's 2020.
Sometimes these things happen. You can't predict the future.
You can't. And who knew that both of the pitching prospects that would come out of that, a top 5 guy in Robert Hodges and Dusty Savino, would both just die off,
Yeah. I mean, I can tell you that from my experience that all pitching prospects are stupid. But
that's the thing. Dusty Savino was picked in the first round by the Peking Ducks, then traded for Victor Caraballo to Wuhan. Mm-hmm. He was a top 100 prospect at his peak before he got traded to Montreal as part of this deal. He was the 29th ranked prospect in the RFBL. And he had pitched in the Futures game. He got traded to Montreal, and then he started getting little niggling injuries here. He had an abdominal strain, a sore back, a sore hamstring, an oblique strain, and then his elbow ligament stretched, and he was done. The control was gone, couldn't hit it, and then that's where the button kept coming back until he was released and retired from professional baseball in 2034.
The end. And 8 years later, Louise Arias is still playing.
Still playing.
And it's going through till 2044, which could potentially mean he has 17 years of Major League service.
I don't know how many more years Arias is going to play. And I think we've talked about this with digital pride, virtual pride, these players.
Yeah.
He's still getting paid. He's got 2 more seasons after this one. I don't know how much longer he's going to keep it going. Sometimes guys that were elite, as soon as they hit that level where they're about replacement, they just call it. That's what happened with Danny Cortina, right?
Yeah, he just called it as soon as he just couldn't be asked.
Yeah, he played a little bit as a backup, I want to say, in the last year. Like, he had a time split with Alex Ibelen in Calcigar in that last year, but, like, his hitting was just gone at that point. He was just there for milestone chasing, and then Travadondo picked him up, and it was clear he couldn't play anymore, and he just, he retired.
Yeah. I'm done. I've earned enough money.
I'm piecing out. I'm done here. But, yeah, I think that's our list.
Yeah. Well, it's more so your list, less so my list.
Well, okay, you tell me. What would you have done differently?
Joe McKay would have been number one. We all know this.
The only thing that kept Mulcahy in the 2-hole is that Arias had...
just save his life.
Yeah, it was just Arias was a better defender. Like, they have the exact same career WAR. I don't think framing gets counted in that. Like, it might have...
Nah, it's just pure this is pure batting stats, isn't it? So...
Yeah, but, like, both guys have a legitimate claim to potentially a Hall of Fame. They might be our first 2 catchers in the Hall of Fame. We don't have any catchers there now.
I don't think there is any catchers. They're all outfielders and middle infielders, aren't
There's pitchers. There's pitchers.
There's pitchers as well, but that's a given, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. Let's take a look at the Hall of Fame. We'll break this down real quick. What do we got? We got Mitsuzani, who was a center fielder, Maldonado, who was a corner outfielder, Alex Ponce de Leon, corner outfielder, Jake Dernill, first baseman, Roku Asai was a center fielder. Then we got some pitchers. We got Matt Camp, Cody Holland, Jonathan Webb. I feel like Webb might have been a stretch there, but Greg French,
Mustard Man,
Ben the Prince Sullivan, some infielders there. We had a third baseman and a shortstop. Tony Mata was a left fielder, lots of hits, epic mustache. I'm not going to say this guy because he shouldn't be in there. Like, it's weird that Xavier Turner made it in. Probably the Hall of OK. But then we get into some... the Hall of OK. Like, he had one good year. Like, one really super elite year, I want to say. Yeah, he had one... he had one almost 6-4 year. He had another that he was 5 and 2 more that he was 4, but it's like... There's lots of guys that do that.
They were playing as plumbers at that time, so you have to...
I just don't think... Like, there's a lot of guys that do that today, you know? Don't think that gets you in. We have some of the legacy guys, the guys that were genned early on in the game and probably would have had much more impressive careers, like Greg Rogers, Tony Caballero, Kendrick Ackland, Kosho Hori. Those are all kind of third baseman, shortstops. Then we had Lupo Te Bing, kind of inducted under the injury clause.
Yeah,
because he was brilliant. He only had 7 years in the league, and he started in his 30s, I want to say, and he was brilliant until his arm fell off. But 26 WAR in just a few years there. Never forgotten.
Never forgotten, never forget.
He's in the Hall of Fame with the Polynesian Suns, which is wild.
I mean, Ackland's in with the Beijing Veggies, so...
Barrington Bears, actually, Kendrick Ackland.
It says in the game, Beijing.
Oh, there you go. See, I'm looking at Stats Plus, and it has him as in the Hall of Fame with the Barrington Bears. His additional teams: Suwon Neons, Zootopia Zabbies, Cascade River Kings, Beijing Baljeets, Minneapolis Monkeys. He got around, Kendrick Ackland.
Got around, definitely.
There's some guys here, like, look at this guy. Tony Caballero, inducted with the New Haven Badgers. There's some fun guys that played for defunct teams. I feel like a bunch of these guys that are here, like, I think Xavier Turner made it on account of being attached to an elite team. Like, the Boston Mayday Malones won a bunch of rings, and some of their guys are there as a result of their connection to the team. You had 4 guys from that core. Greg French, Tony Mata, Xavier Turner, Jonathan Webb, that all made it.
Yeah, that core was the bane of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Because I faced him every year for about 16 games that was playing.
Yep, but no catchers. No catchers in the Hall of Fame right now.
And soon there will be 2 more.
We'll see. We'll see if they get in.
They will get in.
Voters
They
have been
will
interesting.
get in.
Well, on that note, thanks for joining us for episode 8.5 of the RFBL report, where we have kind of gone through the best catchers of all time in the RFBL, and maybe we will have some more content in the near future. We can do there's plenty of other positions, plenty of hot takes. We got a playoff race shaping up and shipping out, so we will have some content for you in the days to come. Thanks for joining me as always, sir.
No worries, mate.
This has been the RFBL Report with Bear and Batdownski. To find out more about the RFBL, including stats and history, you can go to statsplus.net/RFBL. To find more episodes of the RFBL Report, you can go to Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Buzzsprout, and YouTube. It's